Hello everyone, welcome to another, first ever, Legends Runeterra guide, by me. Today we'll be talking about the best deck of all time, strongest even some would say, Ashe LeBlanc, don't tell anyone yet. The guide will be separated into 3 categories, which can be seen here, somewhere, there approximately, yep. Yeah, on to part 1. This is a mid-range combat-based strategy, relying on well-statted units for their cost, and I do mean very efficient combat tricks, like the best in the game. We use it to control the board, and especially the combat, nobody can beat us in combat, and just win. Why this deck, you might ask? Well, why not? I think the deck is a lot of fun and you should probably try it yourself, and I promise you will enjoy it. So the deck does very powerful things on multiple different axes. You can look at them as different win cons, even though they aren't necessarily just win cons, but whatever. Number 1 is just like straight out beef. Your units are like super well statted, like mostly like a Rose and Trapper generating a Yeti, like a 1-mana 5/5 is insane. It's unmatched throughout the game, obviously. But just playing a hard guard on 5, which is one of the key things you want to have in most of the matchups, just makes your units huge. They can't be matched. Maybe by something like Pantheon decks, but even then it's close. Speaking of, your combat tricks would like also fall into this category technically, because without the combat tricks, stats and units don't mean much. And freeze do a really good job at it to support their huge units, yep. So the difference between freeze and a regular combat trick, something like Twin Disciplines or Sharp Sight, which are considered the best combat tricks in the game, right? Well, freeze is set a stat, namely attack, to a specific number, 0, right? So the largest units get affected by the most, right? If you have a 10-10, it loses 10 attack. If you have a 5-5, it loses only 5 attack, right? So it scales, unlike actual combat tricks, like Twin Disciplines, for example, which just gives a flat bonus. So the larger your unit, the better the combat tricks we have are, which is very good, because those are the decks we want combat tricks against, right? Like a freeze is gonna be way more important versus a Pantheon deck than versus like Ari Cannon, correct? Because you spend that much more time in combat and you want to make sure that you win those. So yeah, very good combat tricks. Troll Chant also, not really popular right now, but probably the best combat trick in the game, even though it has been slightly overshadowed by the before mentioned ones. Mostly because you can split it into 2 different units, right? So if you have like 2 free freeze versus opponent's 2 free freeze, you can just like split the difference and do it on like one on the left one and one on the right pair, and then you will win both of them. Whereas something like Sharp Sight would only let you win one of those combats and the other one would still die. So yeah. Second most powerful thing the deck is doing is my favorite. It draws a lot of cards, like a lot. Like Runeterra Assessor draws an insane amount of cards. So like we said previously, the most important thing is having hard guard and 5. After that, if you draw Assessor, it is 5 attack itself, correct? It's buffed by 1/1. Yeah, it counts itself because it is a 5 attack unit, so it checks itself. So it draws at least 1 card, but you usually have like a couple of them on board. So you would draw like from 2 if it's not unbuffed to like even 6 in some board states cards. And drawing 6 cards just with 5 mana and you get a 5/4, that is insane. And you can like copy it with LeBlanc and whatever, but decks just can't keep up. Even decks like Bandle City decks or other like value oriented decks like Karma decks or whatever, they just can't keep up. As long as they don't like remove all your board and you cannot benefit off of Assessor because there's no 5 attack units, if they don't do that, you're gonna outgrind them. And that just feels very good to me. It also gets Assessor gets help with other cards like Whispered Words and stuff, but those are like less explosive or less feels good, but they're still very good cards, maybe even better than Assessor, but again, drawing 6 cards is kind of my jam, I have to admit, and then copying it after, insane. Okay, and then the last part, the champions. The champions work really well in this deck. Let's talk about LeBlanc first. So LeBlanc, she's kind of weak in general, but she has a lot of synergy points in this deck. Namely 2 things: Incisive Tactician, which rallies when you play it. You do an attack. If LeBlanc is on board, you're gonna level her, most likely, because a board is significantly large at that point, otherwise you wouldn't rally. And you're gonna get the mirror image from LeBlanc, and you can just use it on the Tactician and rally again. And then you attack again, and you get another token, then you copy it again, and it's infinite, as long as you have mana. Technically, if your units are large enough, it will even go down in cost to 0 mana, so it's actually infinite, but that's not necessary in any matchups, let's be real. Like, 2 attacks is good enough to beat basically any deck. And then Ashe. Ashe is very good, one of my favorite champs of all time. Still slightly weak-ish compared to other champions in the game, but again, it's exactly what this deck needs. It's the only way to like cheese victories in an unwinnable scenario. If you have Ashe on board and you have a bunch of freezes in your hand and you're gonna lose because you didn't draw your hard guards, assessors and stuff, right? You can't outgrind or you're gonna die to burn or whatever. You need to finish the game fast. Well, Ashe has you covered because suddenly your opponent's units can't block, and a 6 versus 6 board, which is what it usually comes down to, because you have large units and they just stop attacking, otherwise they lose their stuff. You just attack, freeze all their stuff, and if you declare an attack with a leveled Ashe and all their stuff is frozen, only stuff like Minimorph and Hush will stop the attack, because if you use any fast speed spell to stop Ashe, by the time the spell is resolved, they will have to have already committed no blocks, because they can't, because Ashe text, right? You can't block with 0 attack units. By the time the fast spell resolves, they already committed no blocks, and yeah, sure, Ashe dies to a vengeance or whatever they put in stack, but they die as well, so like, who cares, right? I mean, we do care. I love you, Ashe, but the sacrifice was worthwhile, okay? Yeah, that's mostly it about the deck. On to card choices. Okay, let's talk card choices. You have a lot of viable cards here that will be useful in specific metagames and then not as useful in other ones. So I use this convention usually when I'm creating decks of my own, when there's like a new strategy I'm working on. So this helps me like go through all the cards. If any card is a free, you can see it's 60 cards. This isn't a real deck. This is just for like just a list of cards. Anything that's a free of, I would never play Ashe LeBlanc without that deck. For example, I would never play Ashe LeBlanc without a single copy of Brittle Steel. Not necessarily free of, but I would never queue the deck without a single copy of this. Maybe in some very extreme scenarios, but I would always keep at least 1 copy in the deck. And then these that are one-offs, they can be in the deck, some more than others, but they can definitely be cut from my experience. Some are like very, very niche cards, like for example, Stalking Wolf had a usage versus like Trond Lysandra combo because they had board space issues, and giving them a rabbit could stop them from comboing, which was kind of cute, but then again, not as strong. And then on the other side of those, you have like Omen Hawk, which a lot of people played as an automatic free of. I don't like it myself. But yeah, that's just to speak about the convention shortly. So one-offs, cards that might be in the deck but not necessarily are, and 3-ofs are the ones that I would put in the deck always, not as a 3-of, but just I would have some copies in the deck for sure. Okay, let's start. Brittle Steel, it's the most efficient freeze you have. obviously, if the meta is fast enough. Versus something like Pantheon decks, it's bad. Versus stuff you don't want freezes against, it's bad. Versus control-y decks, it's bad. But versus aggro, it's really good, right? Anything that has like high attack units, low HP units, very good against. So yeah, if you have a problem with faster decks, jam a bunch of these in your deck. Set. On to the next, Elixir of Iron. This is the opposite. You want this versus a removal only. So you don't want this in combat. It's okay in combat as well. 1 mana plus 2 HP, right? It's like half a troll chant technically. But it's just like card for card value. It's really low. So it only shines in exact scenarios where troll chant is bad. And that is versus like a removal, right? If they do like an avalanche and you have a LeBlanc on board, troll chant and Elixir of Iron are gonna do the same things for 1 less mana, and that tempo advantage might be the thing that wins you the game. So if there's a lot of strategies that involve like some sort of removal like that, I would play Elixir of Iron. Not more than like a 2-off, but yes. Omen Hawk, we talked about it. I don't like it personally. It's too low value for a single card, but some people do like it. I'm all against it. There's one specific reason you might want to do it. It buffs Assessor when Hardguard doesn't, if you draw them early, but that's a very short, a very small window, so I don't think it's worth it. Three Sisters, insanely flexible, the most flexible freeze of all. I would always play like at least 1 or 2 off. You use Entomb quite a lot actually, because it removes an attacker and a blocker. Otherwise just a +1 mana freeze, which is still good enough in a lot of scenarios. Abrosen Sentry. Yeah, just a good card. Draws cards so you don't run out of juice while chump block in the early game. Some better players won't remove it, so you'll be stuck on cards in grinder matchups, which is kind of awkward. But I would play a couple of this card for sure. That Lotus, really bad. Only in very, very specific scenarios I would play this, if it's a super go-wide meta. This deck is really weak to go wide anyways, so I probably just wouldn't play this deck if that was the case. But if you can play cards like that Lotus, and we have Avalanches in the same way, but Avalanche hurts our units more, so it's even worse. But that Lotus is kind of fine-ish. House Spider, same. Versus a go wide aggressive meta, you want to play it. Otherwise, no, pretty bad card. It's a great card overall, but it has no synergy with our deck, so I would stay away from it in most scenarios. But I've seen some lists, I've ran it myself a couple of times. It's not terrible. Icefield Archer, key card to deck, almost always exactly free of. It's a development punisher. It's like Arachnoid Sentry. It's 2 for 1. It deals with a unit and then it can block another one. It's great. Just play it. Stalking Wolf we talked about, very specific. Treferian Glory Seeker. This card shines in the deck for one specific reason. It has a very glaring downside, right? 1 HP and can block, but can't block, we just can't. We can't deal with it. You can't fix that. But the 1 HP is very good in combination with Freljord, right? We have health buffs, we have freezes, so a lot of times when this card and Ashe attack together, you can just like pull the thing that Ashe freezes and it can start clearing units for free. Stuff like that, very good. Always a free of, in my experience. Troll Chant, best combo trick in the game, always free of. I've seen people jam like a 2 of this card, wouldn't recommend. Rosen Marksman, pretty bad, very bad card. Again, very niche. If you want to pop spell shields or deal with 1 HP units a lot, I play this card as a one-off in like a Sivir Ionia meta, because you needed to remove the spell shield, otherwise you die to like a Ghost Flurry combo, right? Something like that, maybe, because if they don't have pings themselves, it's a free one, it's a free attack unit, it's fine-ish. Anyway, bad card, don't play it. Hopefully it gets buffed soon. We'll see. Arusan Trapper, always play this card. Sadly, I hate this card. For one specific reason. When you're in the late game, you want draw, right? You want Assessor, you want Whispered Words, you want a bomb, like a champion or something. This ain't it. This not only is only a 3 mana free, but it also bricks one of your other draws, because it shuffles a 1 mana Yeti, and nobody cares about the 1 mana Yeti in the late game. So you, in a lot of cases, you can't even play it. So it's just a dead card. On the other hand, in early game, it's insane. The tempo advantage the Yeti gives you is, well, unmatched throughout the game, I believe. But yeah, I don't like it. I like grinding with this deck, and this doesn't let me do it. So I usually play it as a 2-off. Most people play it as 3-off, whatever. Culling Strike. This card is pretty bad in the current meta because a lot of high attack units, but we have freezes and Troll Chant, so we can just freeze an Aurelion Soul if we want to. And then Culling Strike it. Easy clap. Yeah, very good card. Usually a 3-off in the decks. Flash Freeze. It's like an unflexible version of Three Sisters. Play it as a 1 or 2-off, depending. You want like 7-ish freezes total. Brittle Steel, Three Sisters, Flash Freeze. Even like, what's that called? Harsh Winds. Combined around 7-ish freezes. Make your own choices, depending on the meta, like what the numbers are, but yeah, around that. Kindly Tavern Keeper. Yes, no, only versus exactly burn, versus go wide strategies, or like just any aggro that isn't burn based. I wouldn't play this card. I would just play like House Spiders or something, or just another Trapper, right? It's okay if you want to beat burn. Again, this deck is bad against burn, so trying to attack against it doesn't make sense, but if you want to, go ahead. LeBlanc, we talked about. Very, very good in the deck. Weak power level overall. What can you do? A Rimefang Wolf and Scorched Earth are pretty bad, both of them. A Rimefang Wolf is much better though. It has a lot of synergy with the deck. They're like the opposite. Rimefang Wolf has a lot of synergy with the deck, but it's a bad card. And Scorched Earth is a really good card, but it has no synergy with the deck. You have no pings. It's basically just for removing landmarks, or you'd have to trade a unit into it and then Scorched Earth, which is terrible. I just wouldn't play either. A Rimefang Wolf can be good in specific metas, but I would basically never play Scorched Earth, even though I've seen people do it and beat me with it, sadly. But yeah. Torn Rose is like probably better version of Roaster Marksman. Use it to pop spell shields, deny development, stuff like that. It's good against like stuff like Rek'Sai, obviously. Yeah, just it's an okay card overall. Obviously really weak against pigs. I play it as a 1-off currently, whatever. Avalanche bad, Babbling Bjerg, close enough. Bad. I don't know. Just drawing a card, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of hits. Just not into it. I've seen some people play it. No. Bloody Business, same way. We don't really want removal like this. It's too expensive for what we want to do. Culling Strike is just more efficient. This can get easily interrupted. They just kill your unit or whatever. I don't like it. Yeah, just off it. Whispered Words. I always play this as a 3-off. I've seen people cut it. We want value. We play value. Rose and Heartguard. Key card in deck. Always a 3-off. If you cut this card, you're trolling. You don't like winning. I don't know what to tell you. If we're cutting down this card, I think we should be playing a different deck. That's it. Heartguard on 5 is, I think, the most powerful thing this deck can do. If we're going into the late game, so yeah, just jam 3-off. Shampoo, wouldn't play it. Incisive Tactician is better in my mind. You want both fill the slot or rally, right? Both are like versus slower strategies where you want to like turn a corner and just end the game. I just play Tactician. It's undeniable. It's burst speed. It still gives them an action, sure, but you also get a body and you can copy it with LeBlanc. There's more synergy. I would just play Tactician. Defending Assessor, Nuts card. I've seen people play it as a 2-off. If the meta is faster, you probably want to play it as a 2-off, not a 3-off. I always play it as a 3-off myself, but yeah, most fun card in the deck. Arshwins we talked about. A Reckoning and Captain Farron, last 2 cards. Reckoning is pretty good versus very specific strategies like Bandle City, Shellfolk type of deal, right? Bandle 3, even some aggro decks, a lot of them actually. Yeah, the card is very good. And then versus other things like Pantheon or Control decks, the card that literally has no text. It's 6 mana, do nothing. So yeah, a very polarizing card, depends on the meta. I've seen people go up to 2 copies of it, but I'm currently playing 0. however you feel like it. And Farron, Farron is weird. Farron is like it takes a slot of Incisive Tactician in my mind. It's like a finisher, but versus like that stabilized but have no healing. So like stuff like old Raven Ezreal. I can't see it. Some people like it, not me. Yeah, that's it for the card choices. Last we have gameplay. So yeah, enjoy some misplays and see you next time. Versus Darkness game 1. Darkness is an okay matchup. For mulligans, we want Hard Guard in 5. We're gonna keep a Culling Strike to answer a Veigar in 4, very important. Other than that, we ship these for Hard Guard, like we said. Keeping the Glory Seeker is bad versus they play like 8 pings usually, right? Full set of Vile, no, even 9. They play full set of Vile Feast, Pokey Stick, and Go Hard, so Glory Seeker is pretty bad. Usually trades down super hard. If they play yeah, one of those, there's a decision to be made. We can just Culling Strike it, but I think I like this better. It leaves us an option of leaving Culling Strike for later down the line, and it stops this as well, so yeah, that's a Go Hard, that's fine. We don't have a Hard Guard at this point, which is pretty bad. It's very important to hit that on 5. Yeah, I think we'll just go Glory Seeker here. And we do the pool. Hopefully they go for a pink here, so we can do a Troll Chant and 2-for-1 them. They are gonna get the increase in darkness from the Catalyzer, but that's fine. We take this trade. It's not great for us, but it could be worse. Yep, go for it. This way we survive the Pokey and we survive the trade, which is really good again. It's an easy 2-for-1 Troll Chant. If they have a second Go Hard, it's a slight punish, but not really, right? It's still 2-for-2. But yeah, low resource end. Okay. Frozen Trapper definitely doesn't have our scenario of being pretty low on resources. No Veigar is good for us. Gonna go with that. The earlier we draw it, the better, because the 5-5 body usually becomes very relevant later in the game. It's pretty bad. Let's go with Sentry. And then we'll go with second Glory Seeker and then just attack. This is pretty weak to like Zig spell, double ping stuff. Okay, hopefully in a second ping, because we can't trade into this efficiently otherwise. Trading this with like even a Spider is fine. Get the draw out of the way, maybe we draw the Yeti as well. Play this turn. Okay, so these cards are not pinks. They would definitely kill the Glory Seeker there. Okay. Jam the Yeti here. Speaking of these spell there is weird. It is decent versus our deck until we get like an Ashe. It's a very good draw. But we still really need an Ancestor. And at this point, I think we're just gonna... So we're gonna go with this. They can't do like attack thingy because we can just block with the Yeti right now. So we're just gonna Culling Strike here. Make sure they don't grind us out with a lot of darknesses, that would be bad for us. We are delaying the Hard Guard turn by 1, which would be unfortunate to draw an Ancestor exactly next card, but it's very unlikely, so playing around that scenario is probably bad. Okay. Decent draw. We're likely to be able to get Reputation here, and we can go with that next turn, perhaps. Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll spend a freeze in this so they don't get a trigger. They can stress defense here. Stress defense in this would be pretty painful, because they not only get a hit, but it also survives. Yeah. But they have a card less now. The problem is they have a removal in here. And we need as many 5 attack units for Assessor draw as possible. That's usually how we win these longer matchups. We just need one Assessor here, like basically seals the deal. They probably can't outgrind this at that point. Okay. Go for a 5th. Makes sense. Now if they are not careful, we can definitely have like a huge swing turn here. By doing something like this. Because we have an attack into another attack on open. And that can like be difficult to deal with some hands. Okay. They didn't have a ping like a couple of turns ago, so we're gonna pull the spider with this and then swing. Didn't have good trades with the conch otherwise. Okay, fair. Okay, found the fun ping as well. Now we have an open for 10 more. That's decent. Get them to 5. We still need some card draw here to be able to win, probably. That's very good. This is what I mean. The deck just keeps chaining a lot of times, right? So that's very good as well. If they play a unit here, we can level Ashe if it's a small unit.
The elements bind the living and the dead.
Our banner will lead the way.
Guess we just make it chum block.
Steady as life and death.
If it was a smaller unit, I guess they never spend a lot of mana on a smaller unit, they would always have Minimorph up. But in general, you can like double freeze in it just to flip Ashe. Right, use a spell and then Ashe refreezes it for the flip, and then they wouldn't be able to block. We would technically present lethal. Ah, that's really bad. That's really bad for me. Okay. We are going to use a troll chant here. No point in saving it, might as well try to preserve the unit.
Make the darkness your own. I am in control.
You waste my time.
Go for freeze here always. Try to get value out of these. If we just trade units down or they regain HP, the freezes mean nothing, so you always use it here. Have another revive. Wow. Yeah, that's probably game. I have to chain draws again. Basically need to top deck exactly Assessor. You always remove things here. It's a very close game.
Life is cyclical. Darkness ends.
Nonsense.
Well, it probably seals the deal at this point, sadly. Let's trade this away.
Stand together.
We usually don't want to do that, but they're likely to have more darkness generation. We don't want to give them targets for that. Oh. At this point, we're just drawing dead. It has to be like basically whispered words into like unit plus Assessor, so we can get the ball rolling. Because just an Assessor from the top just draws one card, and they just keep drawing like literal cream. Best cards in the deck. Probably just freeze that. Nah. Okay. I mean, I guess.
Let the blood, then stop the heart.
Barely survive this.
Make the darkness your own.
To plunder is to die.
Plunder.
What are you made of?
I think we have to hope they have nothing here and just go for a freeze. If I let them trade or if I buff, it's worse. We're basically hoping they have, like, I don't know what they could have. Not be able to win from this scenario. It's 4 cards against the Brittle Steel, which is very bad in the matchup. It's useful versus exactly Catalyzer in turn 2. Okay. Thankfully they decided to break their whole deck by shuffling a bunch of these bad cards in. That might give us a slight edge, but yeah, I don't know. Let's game. It was close. At one point, just couldn't get there. Okay, against Mono Pantheon, we're favored heavily, so we should be able to win this. We don't really need Hard Garden 5 in this matchup, even though it's decent. Reckoning is really bad here. Probably worst card in the deck. Keep LeBlanc for sure. Not certain about Sentry there. It trades with Goat, I guess, so we can keep it.
From your shadows, demon. Onwards.
In this matchup, we usually want to make them use a lot of resources to make a unit pretty large, and then you freeze Culling Strike the unit. No point in attacking here. You don't want to give him an excuse to use a buff in these spots, so don't attack.
You're covered.
That's fine. We'll play LeBlanc so we can block here, farm some damage on her,
Black Rose remembers.
and then we'll play Trapper next turn.
Death I go. Ready the torches.
They might use a buff on this to get a favorable trade, but that's... using buffs on something like this is really bad. Second Culling Strike is fine. Okay. It's not terrible for us. Them using stuff like that early on is usually fine. Better than now than later, when it's more impactful. Okay. Pantheon already.
We are all soldiers.
Interesting. Really want a freeze here, like a non-unit freeze, so we can block here. And then worst case scenario, we can freeze.
Onwards.
I guess they don't attack. They do.
Over there.
I mean, basically any buff was doing it there, right? Okay.
They walked around.
Wait, hard guard here, and then we'll try stabilize next turn. At least to a certain degree. 1 mana Yeti is super nuts, obviously. He's buffed from the hard guard as well. 1 mana 6/6 is basically broken, as you could have guessed. I guess we take that, and then we'll just kill the Pantheon here with Ice Veil Culling. That's a 4th proc, right? Yep. And then we'll deal with this one when the time comes. We don't have to be in a hurry at all. Bastion saves this and probably wins him the game at this point. It's at top like a one-off in the deck, so there's no reason to play around it. We have a chump for this. Unless they have Zenith, they can't overwhelm. Having a priest here is very, very good. Very, very good. Okay. At this point, I believe freezing is fine. They might have a second Pantheon here, which would be pretty bad for me. Yep. Just have to say it. Just have to say it.
A man against all gods. The soldier stands among us.
Got spell shield as well. And quick attack. Challenger. Wow, that's a high roll. Let's see what they pull. They just pulled this, right? Or they pull one of these to go face. That's fine as well. Might have Cataclysm or something. This is really, really bad. I guess we go with this. They both have overwhelms, so they're both basically lethal threats at any point. So I have to answer both of them. And this one has spell shield, so it's gonna be harder to answer anyway. Cataclysm is not lethal at this point. Correct? It's one off, right? Yep.
Save the homestead.
It's a very good draw.
I need just a moment.
We're gonna have to take a risk here, buff and pull. Hopefully it resolves. If it doesn't, it's game. If they have a concerted, it doesn't. Or exactly sharp sight, right? Okay. That's good. Take these. One card and one card, but mine is Whispered Words, and we have this to chump block anything. Okay. This spot feels not bad.
Before burning the pyre. In Amarosa's name.
That's game.
Secure the kill.
Probably. Okay, nice. We can do a quick third game here. We'll keep A culling for Zoe. For Lulu. I think we keep the Glory Seeker and Troll Chant. That's a lot. Sure, let's do that. We keep Troll Chant to protect her from well, Mystic Shot sort of things. And we want her to kill the Chompers. It's basically free removal, right? I think they run Chompers. Is this the discard list even? Not super familiar with this one.
These old eyes still see far and clear.
They're dagger deck, so passing here is probably fine. If they don't play anything, we're fine just passing the turn, and if they do, we can get them with the Glory Seeker, and like getting Glory Seeker for this is that even good? Maybe we just play LeBlanc here actually. Get the damage in, yeah, let's do that.
Places to go. People
Sorry for that. With 1 mana they can't answer LeBlanc here, and Glory Seeker while trading with this is fine. We can always find value later down the line.
Safeguard our homes.
This trading even with this is okay as well. Got the draw in here. Get some LeBlanc level of damage. decent draw as well. Nice. It gets rid of the Assessor, which was pretty dead anyway. There was another one though. Okay. This is not the matchup you would usually want these in. You probably don't have to grind against this. Not really sure what this deck represents. It's probably like your Lizard Arms sort of thing. So we just want to like get board presence and keep it throughout the game. We don't really want like super grind with drawing 6 cards per turn kind of deal. Okay. Taking 3 here is fine. Obviously using Troll Chant here is a big no-no just to save 2 HP. You want to use both parts of this if possible. And it's very possible in this matchup. So if we play both of these, we have either of the tricks up. So let's just lead with the Sentry. See what the opponent does here. Actually, we shouldn't have even played the Sentry, because we can keep the both combo ticks up. Sentry is never attacking when they have a 2-3. So yeah, just playing Glory Seeker into keeping these 2 up is probably the correct line there. And we'll trade the Glory Seeker into Fizz here. I don't think we care about the double discount here. We care about the Lucis specifically. And we want to maybe even pull here. No, that can't be right. Just so this can attack. No, that can't be right. They have a full hand. They have two mirror cards. No, 1 mirror card. This levels LeBlanc. We want to separate units so where she levels in like exact chunks so we don't waste any damage, right? So this is exactly 8 and she needs 8 for the level up, so she hits for the full 6 after the level up, which is basically where we want to be. And if this is a group shot sort of deal, we can just Troll Chant here, which makes it pretty good. So this survives the trade and LeBlanc also lives the group shot. A second one here would be kind of sad, but not the end of the world then. Okay, so far so good. A Reckoning is really good in these type of matchups, which is the reason why we play it as a one-off. You can attack more if you feel like you want to beat this deck more, but I feel like we don't see that often in ladders, so it can go either way. It's a very flexible deck, which is the main reason I like it. You can basically take it to beat very different things. I think we just go with ISL Archer here. We definitely don't want him to attack with that. And then next turn... It's kind of weird, because the board is full. Let's see if they answer something on our board, or if they let us trade. Wow. Well, that's just terrible for me. So LeBlanc can trade into one of the mayors. We can calling the Porto now, for example. Or calling this even. Maybe that's better, actually. Yeah, let's calling that. Sadly, don't have Malice or Sigil mana, right? And then we'll like chump trade, something like that. We'll see. Probably gonna be forced to try copy this with LeBlanc's spell next turn if possible. Just so we can pull multiple units and trade down the board. But yeah, we'll see.
Are you certain?
That's really awkward. Is this enough? It is. So we can do something like that. That is enough to get the... So she hits to 12 and then we need 3 more. Yeah, exactly enough. So yeah, let's do that. Free up some board space. Get the mirror image. And then... Okay, good. Next turn we'll see. We have 7+1, we have 8 mana. So we can play just... We can't play those 2 actually. We can do this. Yeah, let's start with that. If that resolves, we can probably just play Assessor here and draw 3 cards. If opponent forces to use Troll Chant to make this safe, we will. Okay. This is a non-hard guard game, so this is like all pretty weak, but it's still, like, as you can see, very, very strong. Weaker than it could be, obviously. Right, this would draw an extra card, which is a huge, like, an extra card is a huge deal. It's worth like 1.5 mana or something, right? An extra card. But still, like, playing it, it's a 5 mana 4/3 draw 3 right now. That's insane, right? Other options, Ashe or LeBlanc here, neither one is particularly interesting. And even if this was 5, right? We could copy it with LeBlanc down the line if it was required. In this matchup, it probably isn't, but yeah. So they never have a pink here. Otherwise, they would have tried to kill this with Mirror Image on the stack. So we never worry about the pink here. It wouldn't matter anyway. They can't play like a Yordle's Arms because we get to eat 2 units for free here anyway. We're definitely pulling the elusive, pulling this, and just swinging with these. This basically holds no value at this point to the game. They're on a low amount of cards with a high amount of mana, so the discount doesn't really accomplish anything. But it's can't a block unit, so might as well trade it off while we can. One reason to leave it would be to if we needed more cards from this, which we don't. Okay.
Well, just do your best, okay?
Do your best. Okay. I think if they develop another unit, we just go Reckoning here. They are very unlikely to be able to kill this yet with that amount of cards. Pass? Pass. Let's just play LeBlanc here, so we can keep Reckoning Man up, and we'll see what they do. If they pass back, if they pass again, we pass back. If they don't, we'll see what they do and act accordingly. Yep. So yeah, at this point, basically, the game is over. We'll play Ashe. We're missing 1 freeze for Ashe, right? Ashe herself is 1, 2, 3. And we're in 1. Yeah, we're missing 1. So we can still go with Ashe. Probably better than hard guard at this point of the game. Like, buffing the deck when the game is about to end in a turn or 2 doesn't really accomplish anything, right? That is fine. I think we'll just jam Reckoning here and the game. It kills 2 our own units. Is that even worth it then? I think it is. It has to be. Because we have 3 lethal attackers, right? Because at this current state, they would just block these, and if they can kill one of these 2, they would win. Even though it's very unlikely still, they're an aggressive deck, not a defensive one, and I could just block, like, buff one of these. Like, all paths lead to Rome here, as they say. And there's the FF. GG's. There we go. As you can see, the deck has some legs. It's not bad at all. Can do some pretty powerful things. A lot to draw. Good combat manipulation and board presence. Definitely not bad by any means, and likely to be even better tomorrow with the upcoming buffs. So yeah, that's it for the first video. Hopefully many more to come. Thank you for watching. You can find me every single day on twitch.tv/CockyBoky, just like the YouTube channel. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Have a nice rest and have a good night. Bye.